Have you ever come across an ancient text that's so profound? It just completely shakes up how you see reality. And at the same time, its physical existence tells this equally amazing story of, like, human history. Today, we're doing a deep dive into the Diamond Sutra. The Sanskrit name is Vajracharika Prajnaparamita Sutra, which literally means the diamond that cuts through illusion. And this isn't just any old text, it's a really key Mahayana Buddhist sutra. From the perfection of wisdom teachings, it's famous for these quite radical ideas about existence. But here's the kicker. It's also, historically speaking, the world's earliest dated printed book. Just incredible. So we'll explore some excerpts, look at the core teachings and pros, perception, reality, non-attachment, and then we'll get into its amazing journey through time. We want to show why it's still so relevant, both philosophically and historically. Our mission really is to unpack these two connected stories, the wisdom and the innovation, to give you a shortcut to understanding this amazing artifact. Okay, let's get into it.
It really is an incredible combination, isn't it? You've got this deep spiritual teaching challenging our basic ideas of what's real, and then you have the sheer human ingenuity it took to actually preserve that wisdom, to print it and pass it down. It says so much about ancient thought and ancient tech.
Totally. And yeah, to really get the history, we have to start with the wisdom itself. It is, after all, the diamond that cuts through illusion.
Yeah.
So the sutra kicks off with that classic Buddhist opening, "Thus have I heard." It kind of immediately puts you in a specific time and place. The Buddha is staying in the Jita Grove near Sravasti with this big community, like 1,250 monks and disciples.
Yeah, it paints such a vivid picture, almost meditative. You see the Buddha going about his day, putting on robes, getting his alms bowl, going into the city for food, coming back, eating, washing his feet, and then just sitting mindfully. This simple routine sort of sets the stage for what turns into this really radical philosophical discussion.
Right. And then the monk Sukuti steps up, and he asks this question that honestly feels so relevant even now. He asks, and I'm quoting here, "Most honored one, if sons and daughters of good families want to develop the highest, most fulfilled and awakened mind, attain the highest perfect wisdom, what should they do to help quiet their drifting minds and help subdue their craving thoughts?"
Mm-hmm.
I mean, anyone who's ever felt like their mind is just racing, that question hits home, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It's that universal human search for, peace and understanding. And the Buddha praises Subhuti for even asking, tells him to listen closely for the way to quiet those discriminative thoughts and craving desires. And that invitation, it isn't just for Subhuti back then. It feels like it's for us, too, for the listener. It promises a path.
And what comes next is this brilliant, often paradoxical, kind of taking apart of our basic assumptions. One huge theme is the illusion of self. The Buddha says he'll lead all beings to nirvana, but then, like in the next breath, says, quote, "When this infinite number of living beings have all been liberated, in truth, not even a single being has actually been liberated." Okay, wait. My brain does a little flip there. How do you even start to make sense of that? It sounds like a direct contradiction.
That's the genius of it, though. That seeming contradiction forces you to question the very idea of an individual self that gets liberated. The deep insight is liberation isn't about fixing or changing you. It's about realizing there's no fixed, separate you there in the first place. So if a disciple clings to ideas like ego, personality, self, separate person, even universal self, well, they're not really getting it. To really awaken, you have to let go of all ideas about the existence and even the non-existence of a self or others or a universal soul.
Wow. So it's not just ditching a bad ego, it's letting go of the whole concept of self. That's radical. The Buddha uses that famous raft analogy too, right? Spiritual ideas are like a raft for crossing a river.
Exactly. Once you're across, you leave the raft. You don't keep carrying it. Concepts are tools, useful tools, but they aren't the ultimate reality to hold on to.
We use them, then let them go. Makes sense.
Yeah. And this means real disciples don't go around saying, "I've entered the stream," or "I've attained perfect enlightenment," because even saying that implies a separate self having that experience. Sukuti himself is the example. He says he doesn't claim to be the best at feeling bliss or being free from passion. And it leads to this core idea that all dharmas, all teachings, phenomena, the building blocks of reality as we see it, are ultimately non-dharmas.
Okay, so dharmas are like the individual bits, the teachings, the things we perceive. What does it mean for them to be non-dharmas? Is it that they don't have like a solid independent reality on their own?
Precisely. That's the radical bit. Even these fundamental concepts, these things that seem to make up reality, are ultimately empty of inherent existence, just like the self. They point the way, but they aren't the destination itself.
That really shifts your perspective.
Hmm.
And, okay, building on that illusory self-idea, the sutra then looks at the world around us. It suggests that what seems solid might be just as illusory. The Buddha says you can't recognize him just by his physical body because, quoting again, when the Buddha speaks of bodily form, it is not a real form, but only an illusion. All forms are unreal.
Right. This is where the diamond really cuts. It's asking us to sort of purify our senses,
Mhm.
to develop a mind that isn't dependent on sights, sounds, smells, tastes, sensations, or even mental ideas. Even personal existence, it says, is just a name. It's neither really existing nor really non-existing. This isn't just, philosophy in the clouds. It directly challenges how we build our reality moment by moment. The sutra uses words like particles of dust or universe as figures of speech, not as concrete statements about what's definitely real.
That whole cutting through illusion thing, it makes me think about how much time we spend online, right? Scrolling, thinking we're seeing reality, comparing ourselves. The sutra was warning us about getting attached to these forms thousands of years ago. And it even applies to our thoughts. The Buddha says he sees the minds of all beings, but all modes, conceptions, and tendencies of thought are not mind. Past, future, even present thoughts, you can't hold on to them. It's like trying to grab smoke.
It's a really profound point. It pushes us to ask, if thoughts are fleeting and forms are illusions, then what is actually real? It encourages us to stop searching for ultimate truth just in appearances because, as the sutra puts it, the perfect physical body is not the perfect physical body. Even something mind-bogglingly vast, like 3,000 galaxies ground into dust, ultimately they're described as illusions, unthinkable and unknowable as definite things.
It's genuinely mind-bending stuff. But the sutra also talks about its own power, right? Its power to wake us up to these truths. It claims that just hearing a sentence or even a phrase from it can spark true faith and insight into enlightenment.
It makes an extraordinary claim about its own significance, yeah. It says that understanding and explaining just 4 lines of the sutra brings way more spiritual merit than, say, filling 10,000 galaxies with treasure. The point isn't just about racking up good karma points. It's about the transformative power the text believes it has, especially when you share that wisdom and challenge perceptions. It says, all Buddhas and all the teachings arise from the teachings in this sutra. And then, boom, the paradox hits again. And yet, I must take back my words, for there are no Buddhas and there are no teachings. It's constantly reminding you, don't cling even to the ideas of Buddha or teachings. They're pointers, not the final thing.
Wow. So it's basically saying that just teaching 4 lines anywhere makes that place sacred, like the Buddha's presence is there.
Mhm.
That's a huge endorsement of its own message. It calls itself a supreme vehicle to enlightenment.
It does. And it also suggests that hearing, understanding, and holding on to this sutra with faith, especially in later ages, specifically 500 years later, which is basically now for us, is incredibly rare and precious, a most remarkable achievement. It means you need deep insight and pure faith, free from those fixed ideas about self. The sutra promises its merit is inconceivable, incalculable, and boundless. Explaining it to others is like carrying the supreme enlightenment attained by the Buddha. It's not just bragging. It underlines the text's view of itself as a direct path, powerful enough to even dissolve past negative actions and bring clarity.
And tying it all together, there's that famous 4-line verse about impermanence. It's such a potent summary.
Right. All conditioned phenomena are like dreams, illusions, bubbles, or shadows, like drops of dew or flashes of lightning. Thusly should they be contemplated.
So what's the takeaway for us, really? It feels like a deep call to look past the surface, beyond the concepts we usually rely on, to question what we think is solid or real, including our own self, and to grasp the fleeting, conditional nature of, well, everything. This ancient wisdom, challenging our deepest ideas about reality, has obviously echoed through centuries, which brings us perfectly to the second, equally amazing part of this story, how it physically survived. Its journey is this incredible technological marvel that literally changed history.
Yeah, it's an absolutely incredible story of survival. Early 20th century, this copy of the Diamond Sutra turns up in a sealed cave in northwest China, packed with other manuscripts, the Dunhuang manuscripts. It was basically an accidental discovery that preserved this treasure trove.
That's right. Around 1900, a fellow named Abbot Wang was sweeping sand away and just stumbled on this hidden library, Cave 17. Inside, over 10,000 manuscripts, silk paintings, loads of stuff carefully copied and saved by Buddhist monks over ages. The cave was probably sealed up around 1000 CE, maybe to protect things during an invasion, the CCC invasion, and doing that basically created this perfect time capsule.
And the thing that makes this Diamond Sutra copy so incredibly special is the date printed on it, May 11th, 868 CE. That makes it the world's earliest complete dated printed book using wood blocks that we know of. Think about that 868 CE. That's more than 500 years before Gutenberg and his movable type press in Europe around 1450. It's even before the first known movable type system, which was also invented in China, around 1040 CE by Bisheng. It shows just how advanced printing technology was in 9th century China.
5 centuries. It just blows my mind. And the object itself is pretty impressive, right? It's a scroll over 5 meters. That's like 16.5 feet long, made from 7 strips of this yellowish paper, printed from hand-carved wooden blocks, then all pasted together. And the picture at the start shows real skill in the carving. It's beautiful craftsmanship.
And there's a little note, a colophon at the end. It says, reverently caused to be made for universal free distribution by Wang Ji on behalf of his 2 parents. Ah. So this idea of sharing knowledge freely for everyone's benefit is right there in its creation. It really echoes the sutra's own message about spreading wisdom. The version they found is the Kumarajiva translation from way back in 401 CE. It's famous for being really smooth, focusing on getting the meaning across. It was so good that even though others translated it later, Kumarajiva's is still the most well-known.
Okay, but the story of its discovery gets a bit complicated, doesn't it? In 1907, the British archaeologist Sir Mark Orlstein shows up. He visits Abbot Wang and ends up acquiring the scroll, plus tons of other manuscripts and artifacts. 24 cases of texts, 5 boxes of paintings for about 130 pounds.
Yeah, the way these artifacts, including the Diamond Sutra, were acquired is definitely a complex part of history and something people still discuss today. In the West, it's often celebrated simply as the world's earliest printed book. But you also have viewpoints like the one expressed by the National Library of Peking in 1961. They described it pretty starkly, saying, this famous scroll was stolen over 50 years ago by the Englishman Su Tanyin Stein, which causes people to gnash their teeth in bitter hatred. It's really important, I think, to acknowledge these very different perspectives on how it was removed and why it's now in the British Library.
Absolutely. It's part of its journey, that complexity. And the place it was found, Dunhuang, is super significant itself. It was this major hub on the Silk Road, a military base connecting China to Central Asia and the West, a real crossroads for trade, culture, ideas.
And a huge religious center, too, famous for the 1,000 Buddha caves. Buddhism was massive there, even though it faced some pushback from Confucianists and was even briefly banned once, back in 845 CE. The sealing of that cave library around 1000 CE, whatever the reason, unintentionally saved these incredible things through centuries of potential destruction or neglect. The whole discovery just tells you so much about the dedication to knowledge back then, how it spread, and the efforts made to preserve it.
So let's connect the dots here. If we bring this all together for you, our listener, this deep dive really shows how ancient wisdom can intersect with modern life in some, well, pretty profound ways. The Diamond Sutra's idea is about non-attachment, about cutting through illusion. That's not just for monks meditating centuries ago.
Yeah.
It feels like a really powerful way to think about navigating our own world, with all the information overload, the distractions.
It really does feel relevant. The sutra basically teaches us to question our assumptions, even our ideas about knowledge itself. Are we holding on to certain truths or ideas about ourselves that are just like that raft we used to cross the river? Are they actually holding us back now from seeing things more clearly? It's a challenge to rethink our mental habits.
Yeah. And finally, think about the parallel stories here. You have the sutra teaching about the huge value of explaining even just 4 lines to someone else. And then you have its physical form, the world's earliest dated printed book made specifically for universal free distribution. This whole thing just highlights the incredible transformative power of sharing wisdom, sharing knowledge. It's a message that travels across centuries, reminding us how important it is to spread ideas and challenge how we see things. So we've explored the Diamond Sutra, this text that uses paradox so brilliantly to make us question our deepest ideas about self, reality, truth. And we've learned about its amazing journey, surviving all those centuries to become this landmark artifact, the world's earliest dated printed book, a symbol of ancient innovation and that enduring human drive to share what we know. So what does this all really mean for you? Maybe consider this. If all conditioned phenomena, everything we experience are like dreams, illusions, bubbles, shadows, how might really thinking about that change how you see the facts or the reality you encounter every day? What illusions, maybe about knowledge or even about yourself, might you be holding on to? And could a metaphorical diamond help cut through them, leading you to maybe a deeper, more peaceful way of understanding